What happens when human DNA collides with the genetic code of Earth's deadliest creatures? Marvel's universe is filled with beings who walk the razor's edge between human and beast. But the question nobody's asking is this: what makes these transformations so horrifying, and why do some create champions while others birth nightmares? Let's dissect the science, the mutations, and the monsters lurking beneath the surface of Marvel's most terrifying cross-species hybrids. The arachnid catalyst, Peter Parker's near-death evolution. When a radioactive spider sank its fangs into Peter Parker, most people remember the origin story. What they forget is that Peter's survival was nothing short of a biological miracle. The venom coursing through his veins wasn't just toxic, it was a genetic invasion attempting to rewrite every cell in his body. Picture this: a teenager's immune system going haywire, his body temperature spiking into dangerous territory, muscles seizing as foreign DNA floods his bloodstream. For those first critical hours, Peter Parker was dying. But here's where the horror becomes fascinating. His cells stopped fighting the invasion and started welcoming it. The spider's genetic code became a blueprint, and Peter's biology treated it like a software update. His skeleton reinforced itself with density that shouldn't exist in human. Muscle fibers compressed and strengthened, creating power ratios that defy natural limits. Neural pathways awakened that had been dormant since before humanity split from its evolutionary ancestors. And then came the spider sense, a precognitive awareness of danger that no spider actually possesses. The radiation created something entirely new, grafting alien neurology onto a human brain. What most people don't realize is that Peter's mutation never stopped evolving. It's dormant, adaptive, constantly shifting depending on environmental pressures. He's not a man with spider powers. He's a genetic experiment that's still running. Decades later, the Electric Predator, Max Dillon's cellular apocalypse. Max Dillon's transformation into Electro represents one of the most catastrophic mutations in Marvel history. This wasn't a spider bite or a controlled serum injection. This was a man falling into a tank of genetically weaponized electric eels, creatures engineered to produce voltage far beyond anything nature intended. Those eels weren't just shocking him. They were injecting microscopic DNA delivery systems directly into his bloodstream. The first stage was cellular destruction. Max's cells literally exploded under the electrical overload, his body cooking from the inside out. But instead of death, something impossible happened. His body rebooted itself using the eel DNA as an operating system. New cells formed, but they weren't human cells anymore. They were living capacitors, storing and generating electricity at levels that should vaporize organic tissue. The real tragedy of Electro isn't the power, it's the instability. Every time Max fires a bolt of lightning, he's literally disintegrating his own atomic structure. His body is in constant decay and regeneration, a cycle that never ends. And the eel DNA didn't just change his cells, it rewired his brain. Electric eels communicate through aggression and electrical pulses, and now Max's mind processes the world the same way. Every electrical current becomes a scream in his consciousness. Every power line feels like it's shouting at him. His sensory input is pure chaos, and his humanity dissolves with each passing day. The Blood Hunter, Michael Morbius's predatory rebirth. Michael Morbius suffered from a blood disease so rare and fatal that his skeleton was crumbling. His muscles were atrophying, and doctors measured his remaining life in months. Desperate, he turned to the Costa Rican vampire bat, a creature that survives on blood alone, producing unique enzymes and anticoagulants that make this possible. Morbius believed he could replicate those mechanisms and stabilize his dying cells. The serum worked, but in the most catastrophic way imaginable. The bat DNA didn't integrate slowly. It detonated. His skeletal structure hollowed out, becoming lighter but unnaturally strong. His muscles became predatory coils. His senses exploded. He could hear heartbeats through concrete, smell adrenaline in someone's sweat, track movement without looking. His nervous system rewired for echolocation, giving him sonar that maps entire environments in darkness. But the worst part was the hunger. Vampire bats need blood to survive, and Morbius's mutated cells inherited that biological imperative with brutal efficiency. His metabolism burns through energy at monstrous rates, forcing him into constant consumption. Not food, blood. His skin lost all pigmentation. His facial bones sharpened into something predatory. His eyes blackened, optimized for night hunting. Morbius didn't cure his disease. He replaced it with something far worse: the eternal choice between living as a monster or dying as a man. The symbiotic nightmare. Eddie Brock's neural invasion. Eddie Brock's merger with Venom represents the most unstable and dangerous mutation in Marvel's catalog. Because the Clintar symbiote isn't just an alien. It's a living genetic rewrite engine. When it bonded with Eddie, the process was immediate and violent. The symbiote didn't wrap around him like armor. It invaded, sinking microscopic tendrils into his nervous system, bloodstream, and memory centers. Within seconds, Eddie wasn't alone in his own mind anymore. The symbiote amplified his muscle structure past superhuman thresholds, giving him raw power that should pulverize human tendons and bones. But the symbiote adapted his entire skeletal structure to handle the stress. Regeneration became instantaneous. Bullets don't just bounce off, the suit heals around wounds before they fully form. The neurological connection is the most terrifying aspect. The symbiote syncs with Eddie's brain, feeding on his emotions and amplifying them. Resentment becomes rage. Insecurity becomes obsession. Justice mutates into vengeance. And like Morbius's blood dependency, Venom develops cravings. Adrenaline, phenethylamine, neurochemical spikes found in abundance during combat. This creates a vicious cycle. The more Eddie fights, the stronger Venom gets. The stronger Venom gets, the more it pushes Eddie toward violence. Yet beneath the chaos lies a twisted truth. The symbiote genuinely cares for Eddie, creating a bond that's half friendship, half addiction, half survival mechanism. The mechanized beast. Alexei Sitsevich, Steel Prison. The Rhino mutation exists in two terrifying forms across Marvel universes, but both lead to the same conclusion. Alexei Sitsevich transforms from a violent criminal into a living weapon. In one universe, scientists don't infuse him with DNA. They build a mechanized exosuit and graft it directly into his flesh. Steel plates merge with skin. Hydraulic pistons link to his spine. The cockpit integrates so deeply that removing it would kill him. The suit isn't armor. It's a cage that magnifies his destructive personality, giving him the charging force of a rhino combined with the firepower of military artillery. In another universe, the approach is purely biological. Seeking respect and power after a lifetime of weakness and hospital visits, Alexei receives a serum derived from Rhino DNA through an uncontrolled process that completely rewrites his physiology. His skin thickens into armored plates, muscles swell beyond human limits. Bone density multiplies until injury becomes nearly impossible. His face elongates, forming the beginnings of a rhino snout. Interestingly, staying in human form requires constant medication. Without it, the beast takes over completely. The genetic time bomb. David Banner's multi-species catastrophe. Long before Bruce Banner ever stepped into a gamma laboratory, his father David had already rewritten their family's DNA in ways that defy ethics and sanity. David wasn't trying to cure disease. He was trying to force evolution forward. He introduced 4 different species into his own genome. Jellyfish for cellular flexibility and regeneration. Starfish for regrowing major organs. Lizard for rapid tissue adaptation. And monkey for enhanced strength and energy complexity. Each strain alone would be catastrophic. Together, they created a genetic time bomb. The serum didn't simply merge with David's DNA, it hid inside his genetic code, waiting for the right trigger. That trigger came years later, when he passed the modified DNA to his unborn son, Bruce. But David's own mutation didn't stay dormant. As he aged, the competing species' DNA began fighting for dominance inside his body. His cells stopped behaving like human cells and started acting like whatever species had the advantage at any given moment. When David finally exposed himself to gamma radiation, everything exploded at once. The jellyfish flexibility took over his skin. Starfish regeneration controlled his organs. Lizard adaptability pushed him into continuous transformation. Monkey DNA fueled unpredictable bursts of strength and aggression. The result was something Marvel had never seen. A man who could absorb anything he touched, energy, matter, even Bruce's gamma radiation. His body became fluid, unstable, shifting between states like a living storm. The shape-shifting erasure. Dmitry Smerdyakov's identity crisis. Growing up as the illegitimate half-brother of Kraven the Hunter, Dmitry Smerdyakov always felt invisible. In a household of abuse and impossible expectations, he developed a survival skill, voice mimicry. Not heroes or villains, just the people around him. His father, his brother, famous singers. It became his defense mechanism. To survive, he changed himself. To survive, he became a chameleon. The scientific turning point came when Dr. Miles Warren granted Dmitry true shape-shifting ability. The mutation wasn't about strength or speed. It was about erasure. His body became a fluid canvas. His face could go completely blank, mannequin-like, with only a faint line dividing his head down the center, signaling that transformation was occurring. Skin texture could alter. Bones subtly shifted. Voice modulation happened through sheer mental will. He could step into someone else's identity completely and walk away undetected. But here lies the tragedy. The reptilian or shape-shifting DNA didn't just give Dimitri power. It stripped him of self. Every appearance he wore blurred the line between who Dimitri actually was and who he was pretending to be. The more he changed, the less he remembered his original identity. His childhood mimicry mutated into true physical transformation, and his trauma-wired brain began losing all sense of authenticity. He didn't become the actor of his own life. He became nothing but the roles he played. The immortal predator. Victor Creed's natural evolution, born in the 1820s in Canada's Northwest Territories. Victor Creed was labeled a mutant from birth, a child whose body and instincts never behaved like other humans. Raised alongside his half-brother Logan, Wolverine, Victor's early life was shaped by violence, war, and survival. As a mercenary through the American Civil War, World War I, World War II, and Vietnam, his mutation matured into something terrifying. Victor's mutation didn't come from laboratory experimentation, mixing animal DNA. It came from nature's own blueprint for apex predators, refined through decades of warfare. His muscles became layered with sinew and hypertrophied tissue. Bones cracked and reformed under stress, becoming denser and stronger. Claws retracted and unleashed like living blades. His senses evolved to animal levels. He could smell traces through miles, hear faint heartbeats through walls, track prey like a wild cat stalking in darkness. His healing factor transformed him into something near immortal. Weaknesses faded. Aging slowed to a crawl. Pain became an inconvenience rather than a limitation. Sabretooth represents what happens when predatory genetics combine with a century of combat experience and psychological deterioration. He's not just dangerous because of his powers, he's dangerous because he's learned how to use them perfectly over generations of killing. The Vibranium-enhanced warrior. T'Challa's sacred transformation. As the eldest son of King T'Chaka of Wakanda, T'Challa was groomed from birth to inherit both the Black Panther mantle and the throne of Earth's most technologically advanced nation. But his ascension came through tragedy when a bomb at a United Nations conference killed his father, transforming T'Challa's grief into a mission of vengeance that would ultimately test his morality and leadership. Before becoming the Black Panther, T'Challa ingested the heart-shaped herb, a sacred ritual bestowed by the panther goddess Bast that grants superhuman abilities. But this isn't an ordinary plant. It grows only in Wakanda's sacred garden, mutated by centuries of exposure to vibranium radiation in the soil. That radiation doesn't poison, it empowers. When T'Challa drinks the potion made from the herb, the effect is immediate and overwhelming. His heart races, his veins ignite with energy, his senses widen like floodgates opening. In a single breath, his entire physiology adjusts to superhuman levels. Strength, speed, and reflexes increase dramatically, allowing him to strike harder, move faster, and react with panther-like precision. His senses sharpen to the point where he can see in complete darkness, track scents across miles, and hear distant sounds with perfect clarity. The herb also dramatically boosts his durability, stamina, and healing capabilities, making him far tougher than any normal human. Combined with his heightened instincts and spiritual connection to his ancestors through the ancestral plane, these abilities transform him into the Black Panther, Wakanda's ultimate warrior king and protector. These mutations represent the terrifying intersection of ambition, desperation, and genetic chaos. From Peter Parker's ongoing evolution to T'Challa's sacred enhancement, each transformation asks the same haunting question. When you rewrite human DNA with animal genetics, where does the human end and the beast begin? And more importantly, can anyone ever truly go back?